I'm here at VegFest with the lovely Juliet from Viva. Now, I've been a huge supporter of Viva for many, many, many years. We've known each other for quite a long time, haven't we? I myself have been a vegetarian for quite a long time, only went vegan properly about a year ago. And I love the talks that you've been doing, and it really gets the message across. So for people that are vegetarian and they're thinking of going vegan, what would you say to them in order to get them thinking about making that change?
I think most people who are going vegetarian have already made a massive step in the right direction. So they obviously care, whether it be about animals or their own health and the environment. So if it's animals that motivates you, then I think you have to think about the fact that all the male calves are going to be killed, either at probably just 2 days old, shot in the head as an unwanted byproduct. Most vegetarians would not want that, to happen or be responsible for it. Or they're killed a bit later on for cheap meat products. And the mums themselves who are giving milk, they're pregnant for 9 months and their babies are always taken away, no matter what the status of the farm, whether it's soil association or so-called free range, whatever, they're always taken.
And you were saying at your talk about the cows are milked when they've got the hormones in their body, and this can sometimes be a possible trigger for cancers and things like that.
Yeah, so cancer's a pretty scary disease. A lot of people who've had cancer got cancer, and 1 in 2 in the UK are now going to get it. So the stats are against us, so we have to take what we can do to help ourselves very seriously, and diet's one of those things, and a vegan diet is by far the best thing in terms of preventing and even reversing, in some cases, cancer. And so when you look at dairy, it's particularly prone to being one of the causes or promoters of cancer, because cow's milk naturally contains 35 hormones, including estrogens and progesterone, of course, and 11 growth factors. And cancers, those solid cancers that can be anywhere in your body, they need growth factors to literally grow. And they tell the cells, they encourage the cells to go out of control. And so you do not want to be consuming stuff with growth factors in them as an adult.
And also, why are we drinking? Why are we the only animals on the whole of this planet that takes milk from another animal? I mean, somebody posted this thing on Facebook the other day, which I commented on, which was this woman has actually taken to breastfeeding this puppy. And these photos have gone all over the internet, and everyone's going, oh, that's disgusting. And I just looked at it and I thought, yeah, but hang on a minute. If it's all right for us to drink cow's milk, what's the difference? Is she suckling a puppy? I mean, isn't it equally disgusting that we're taking the milk from a cow, which is supposed to feed its youngsters? So I totally agree. I mean, from a health-wise perspective, veganism, I feel amazing. You have a brilliant cookbook that you were showing me, which Viva has, and this is brilliant. And there's fabulous recipes, because the one thing I find for vegans in particular is getting your brain working for the recipes, because when you make that transition from being a vegetarian to being a vegan, you suddenly haven't got that classic meal that you would knock up. And also you go to the supermarket, everything's got egg and everything's got milk in. So you really have to start cooking. You really have to start making your own recipes. So I would recommend this definitely, because I've been online and I've taken some of your recipes and they're really, really good. They're really, really tasty. So that I think is a really good starter if you want to really get cooking, get your brain working, and actually try and make some recipes without egg and milk. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about is your campaign about kangaroo kangaroo. Yeah, the campaign about kangaroo meat being sold by Iceland, which of course is really sad. But I mean, of course, the argument is it's bad to eat meat no matter what animal it's from. But in particular, I just think it's just a bit strange, kangaroo meat. Can you tell me a little bit more about this?
It is wrong to eat any meat, and we campaign against all of it, so that includes kangaroo meat. We stopped all supermarkets from selling kangaroo about 15 years ago, so it's quite sad that Iceland have decided to bring it back into the UK, literally in every store. Now, kangaroos, obviously they live in the wild in Australia. It's their native wildlife of Australia. It doesn't damage the environment because they're soft-footed animals meant to be in those very dry places. And they're literally killing them in their millions. And the kangaroo industry is set up purely for money. There is no reason to do it other than make money. And the sad thing is that over the years, because they've been killing so many animals, that in some areas it's really hard to find the large alpha males who don't reach alpha status till they're about 10. in the case of red kangaroos, and they're literally killing the males when they're 2. So you're left with these very young males breeding with the females, and basically, in a nutshell, you're reducing the genetic strength of the kangaroos. You're messing about with it. And also you've got the cruelty in itself. You've got these guys going out in the outback at night, obviously no control, just shooting them supposedly in the head. It could be anywhere if they miss, if the animal moves. You've got the joeys, the babies being pulled out of the mother's pouch, and legally they just literally bang the animal over the head to kill these babies, or leave them to just die of starvation.
You know, I've got a friend from Australia, and I told her all of this, and I don't know what the publicity is over in Australia, but she was completely clueless, and she turned around to me and she said that absolutely doesn't happen. And I said, well, it does. You know, I've heard that it does firsthand. And she goes, no. She goes, they're looked after, the kangaroos over here, and they absolutely wouldn't kill the joeys. So she she was completely clueless. So I don't know whether it's anything to do with their lovely prime minister over there that wants to blow up their coral reef.
The government is pro the kangaroo killing. They allow it to happen, and it's legal. But I mean, I've been over to Australia 3 times on this issue, and there was massive publicity. And we work a lot with the Australian Wildlife Protection Council. But it's the same in the UK. I've had people say, oh, factory farming doesn't happen here. People remain ignorant if they want to be ignorant. Actually, the information's out there if they want to see it.
I mean, how close do you think we might be in England to stopping something like halal meat? Because to me, I've started to hear there's a lot of countries in Europe that are actually putting the stopper on it now. Do you think that might happen over here in England at some point? Or do you think because the English are so politically correct, they always try to please everybody in England, that's something that probably won't happen in England?
It's a very politically sensitive issue. We met the Minister of Agriculture over this, and he actually admitted it was politically sensitive. So, in other words, the animals' welfare is not coming into the argument and the reasoning for not banning it. Having said that, there are countries who have banned it who said they wouldn't in the past. And, you know, that's so as other countries unilaterally take a stand, it makes it easier for us to take a stand. So it wouldn't surprise me if one day that happens, yeah.
And for 2015, have you got any particular campaigns apart from the kangaroo meat that are top of your agenda?
Yeah, you know what? It's the poor old chicken, because they're killed and eaten more than any other animal by miles and miles and miles. I mean, Viva, over the years, we've campaigned against, for example, the factory farming of pigs, of ducks, against the way dairy cows and their calves are treated, and lots more turkeys and so forth. All of those campaigns have had a direct impact in terms of the number of animals that are killed. In other words, they've gone down dramatically. But the poor old chicken, people make any excuse and they're so maligned as if they're somehow stupid or worthless. And in fact, I've just done a study. A lot of research has come out actually just in the last 4 years or so, showing how incredibly bright chickens are.
Do you know what I always find with people when they decide to give up meat? They give up the lamb and they give up the pig and they give up all those nice animals they think are sort of cute. And the chicken always comes last, and they almost look at chickens like a fish. It's like, oh, well, chicken, you know. And it's ridiculous how many are killed. I mean, it's absolutely millions and millions and millions are killed, aren't they?
It's reached 1 billion.
And they're so cheap, aren't they, as well?
Well, that's the problem, and that's why the campaign's called Life is Cheap. And so we're trying to wake up, vegetarians and vegans to support the campaign. And have an empathy for these animals. But these animals, you know, they're so fiercely intelligent, they're so bright, they feel emotional empathy with their own. They know exactly what's happening to them in these places. You know, and they're kept thousands and thousands. They're one of the most intensively farmed animals in the UK. I filmed in one of the biggest last year again, and nothing's changed. If anything, it's got worse. So.
Do you know what was really upsetting is a friend of mine, she had a bag of chicken that she was feeding to her dog, and it was basics, so it was the cheapest of the cheap that you could possibly buy. And she opened the bag, and when she got the chicken out, I would say a third of the chicken inside the bag was broken or deformed. And I looked at it and I thought, this has probably come from, you know, intensively farmed chickens where they're all crushed and absolutely, you know, no care has gone into the welfare of these animals whatsoever. I think that the welfare standards, at least, you know, if people can't give up meat right now, there's something needs to be done now about the welfare of chickens. This cheapness on their life is, you know, what they must go through being crushed.
Well, the thing is, they're being selectively bred to suffer. So they now grow far too fast. So you've got a baby bird where heart disease doesn't exist in wild bird populations. We as humans have created heart disease as a really common condition. So you've got these babies dying of heart attacks before they're even 6 weeks old because their little hearts can't keep up with the growth rate, and that's the way that we have bred them to be. And literally their legs collapse in on them, so their bones break. And we spoke to a chicken catcher at one of the biggest in Europe, and he said you just hear these little creatures literally going pop, pop, pop under the machines that are catching them. And so when you say life is cheap, you don't get any worse than that, really. And that they are treated as if they don't feel, as if, as if they're just a tin of peas or something, I suppose. And it's just not true. That, they've descended from the red jungle fowl, and they've got very complicated little social structures. And these animals are essentially the same. And they have all the same feelings, the emotions, the same complications. And the other thing that most people don't know is that they can communicate. So they have their own form of language where they can communicate things about things that the other chickens can't see but still understand it. In other words, their own form of words, if you want to put it that way. So they're complicated animals, and yet we treat them like they're just nothing.
If you could say anything to people out there today about going vegan, what would you say to them, to the camera today?
I'd say take heart, because it's the most positive thing that you can do. It's a political act in its own way. It's an expression of changing the world, of doing things a better way, a kinder way, a more compassionate way. And we have guides like this, Everyone's Going Dairy Free. All the information's there to help you. Online we have 30-day vegan, so it's breakfast, lunch, evening meals. We have the Vegan Recipe Club with literally hundreds of recipes, including Anneka's. So it's easier than ever before. It really, really is. And it's a pleasure to do.
And you feel so much better because it's not just you're helping animals, you do actually feel amazing. I feel fantastic. I've just been down talking to the vegan runners. They feel amazing. Everyone feels amazing. So there you go. That's from VegFest, from Juliet and I. And thank you very much, Julia. Good luck this year, and nice to see you again.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.